Okay, hello everybody. Welcome back to Springbrook Wildlife Park in Planet Zoo. This is our Planet Zoo build that is meant to be based somewhere in the eastern or midwestern United States. Today we're building a penguin habitat specifically for the African penguin in the game. I originally was going to do this just for the emperor penguins, but then I realized that the area I had set aside for this was a bit too big just for the one penguin habitat, so I decided we'll do the African penguins in the outdoor section, and then we're going to have a building along the back that'll have the did I say emperor penguins? I think I meant king penguins. I think it's king penguins in the game. I get them confused sometimes. It happens. Kings, emperors, both are rulers of countries in the past, but okay. Anyway, that's besides the point. Yeah, so this first episode is for the African penguin. It's going to be an outdoor habitat, mostly outdoor. We're going to have a small area indoors for them. As you can see here, I am basically just setting up a viewing area. The only viewing area we're going to have for these penguins is going to be an underwater viewing area. I thought about doing a different viewing area, but it didn't end up working out. So we're just doing the underwater one, and then we're going to have some decorations around the outer perimeter of the habitat. But yeah, as you can probably see here, I was struggling a bit to get the terrain and the path exactly how I wanted it here. So you can probably see me fiddling around a bit with it quite a few times, trying to get it the way I want it. And it's tricky. The pathing system in this game is especially tricky when you're dealing with elevation changes in the terrain. It gets kind of funky there. I really hope that when Frontier eventually releases Planet Zoo 2, I hope that the pathing system gets a major overhaul, because it's not terrible, but there is some serious things that need worked out a bit better. Like if you just put down a path and you put it down right on the terrain, most of the time it doesn't look very good. So it takes a lot of finagling, a lot of messing with different things, different tools to try and get it to look good. Sometimes you just have to cover things up with scenery pieces and stuff, so otherwise it just looks terrible. But yeah, so I wanted to have underwater viewing for this. This whole build altogether took, I think, about 4 or 5 hours. So this is sped up to, I think, about 8 times speed. I'm not sure. I think the end result of this speed build is probably going to be about 45 minutes or so. I'm not exactly sure how long it's going to be, but it's going to be a longer one than our previous episode. This one just was a lot of trial and error. I don't do a lot of these kinds of builds where you're doing kind of a big underwater viewing, so this was kind of good for me to try something different, but also very time consuming at the same time. And I think I actually recorded this speed build over the course of, I want to say 2 or 3 different gameplay sessions on different days, which brings me to my next thing I wanted to talk about. I am sorry for the fact that it's been quite a while since our last episode of this zoo, of Planet Zoo, I guess, in general, because this is the only project we have going on in Planet Zoo right now. That was not at all my intention. My life has been crazy the past 4 or 5 weeks. There's been a lot going on, so I haven't had as much time to record and edit videos as I wish I would have, but hey, you know what? It's better late than never, I suppose. So in other news, I got a new computer since the last video I recorded. It's quite a bit newer. It's one from 2025, so very recent and runs all my games way better than my previous computer did, which was one from 2019 with some aging hardware and some other issues. So this one, I am very impressed with it, very happy with how it runs the game. Both Planet Zoo and other games. I'm talking about Wolf Quest Anniversary Edition. I'm talking about pretty much all the games I play on a regular basis or a semi-regular basis. It runs it way better. So that is great, and I'm very happy with it. But the problem was I got it a few weeks ago, and it was, I don't know, a lot of work to get all my stuff transferred over. It took me at least 2 or 3 days to get everything transferred over, and that was with things transferring in the background while I was doing other stuff. So you can probably imagine that was quite a tedious process. And yeah, had a bunch of other stuff that happened since then. Some family stuff going on in January that took me away from recording videos for a little while. And then I also wanted to check out some other stuff and a few other games I played, or I was playing at the time. And yeah, I just didn't get enough time put in to get a video out sooner, but you know, I think things are better now. I think I'll be able to set aside a little more time for making videos. I'd like to eventually have a set schedule of like a new video every week or two, but that's going to be kind of difficult because I have a lot going on in my life right now as far as, you know, stuff that comes up, and I'm doing work while also trying to take a course online for how to program, because I want to become a programmer. And that is eating up quite a bit of my time, and it's going to continue to for a while, I think. But, you know, that's the way it goes sometimes. So anyway, enough talking about me and my situation. You guys probably don't want to hear that. You guys probably want to hear about the game and what I'm doing here in it. So I've noticed something with Planet Zoo that I hope gets changed in the next one, is in the next Planet Zoo game, I mean. There is some wonky, I guess, physics when it comes to the deep water diving with some animals in the game. And this was very apparent for me with this penguin habitat because, you know, the water, you look at the penguins in the water, it looks like, even at the depth I have right now, I was just testing out the watercolor here a little bit to see how I wanted it, but you'll see this looks like it should be way more than deep enough for them to dive, and not just dive, but also use their underwater fish feeder and all that stuff. I had to go and like resize this pool area and like make it deeper multiple times in order to get it to work properly. And I don't know exactly how much space penguins need to dive down, you know, deep dive in real life, but I liked the way I had it looking here at first, and the end result I think ended up looking pretty decent. But there is just so much you have to factor in when you're making these sorts of things, and it gets kind of tedious, if I'm being honest, and not in a good way. It just gets annoying because, you know, you want to basically, you want to give them enough space, right, to where they can deep dive. And all of this I'm doing in sandbox mode. So, you know, I'm not even worrying too much about the minimum requirements for traversable area and all that stuff. I'm more worried about, you know, just trying to make habitats that look good here. That's what this project is mostly about, you know, trying to be realistic, yes, but mainly trying to get things looking good and looking the way I want them to look. And I had a vision for this habitat of having kind of the smaller pool outside, and then having the having a big area for the guests to basically look in there and watch the deep diving. And it just was so much work to try and make that happen. You're gonna see here, I was originally planning on making this habitat not for the African penguin, but for the king penguin that came with the aquatic pack, because I've never built a habitat for them, right? So I wanted to do that, but I ended up deciding this was gonna be too big for, just the one penguin species. So I split it in two and decided, well, king penguins need colder habitats, a colder environment anyway. So why not just, put them in the indoor section in a separate habitat from the African penguin, and have the African penguin outside with a small shelter area. So that's what I ended up doing. And you're gonna see here, I messed around with a few different building materials for the building itself, but yeah, it's kind of a trial and error sort of thing. So that's kind of where I was at with all of this, and yeah, going back and forth between how I want it to look and whatnot. I think I expanded this building area in the back multiple different times, splitting it, and I even toyed with at one point the idea of putting in the what's it called, the little blue penguin, I think it's called, from the Oceania pack. I toyed with putting that and that species and the king penguin in this building here, but it just wouldn't have been big enough for both of them, I felt like. And maybe I don't even know what dimensions they need for a habitat for them to be happy in this game, but it felt like it would be a bit cramped in here, because I also wanted to have a walkthrough guest path kind of thing through here, and I just felt like it was not gonna work if I tried to do both in here. We may still eventually do a habitat for the little blue penguin from the Oceania pack, because I like them. I like the way they look, but it's kind of tricky. And if I did that, I would also have all three penguin species in this park, and I didn't really want to have that, because I felt like that would be, you'd get a bit tired of watching me just making penguin habitats over and over again. But, to each their own. But yeah, you'll see here, I did a lot, like I'm talking a lot of work off screen, off camera, between this build and the previous episode in this series. And the reason why is because there was just a insane amount of work that needed to be done to get the zoo up and running and looking decent, how I wanted it to, before I was willing to put animals in. And I didn't want to make like 3 or 4 episodes out of just me building some backstage buildings and some guest shops and stuff, because I know, people get kind of tired of seeing that over and over again. It's fine the first couple times, and I'm not saying I won't do videos where I'm doing that in the future, but I really don't like making long speed builds that are just that, because I feel like it starts to feel, I don't know, like you're watching a construction simulator or something. So as you can see here, I'm trying to get this habitat set up, trying to get, it so that the keepers can get in and out, and it doesn't look super, how would you say? It just kind of flows naturally. It doesn't look like, it's forced. It just feels like they can be kind of low-key about it and just walk off the path. Down there's a little staff section of path, and yeah, everything's good. So that's kind of what I wanted there, and so that's what I did. But off camera, I did a few guest shops near the front portion of the zoo, because I figure, you get off the bus or you get out of the car and you walk into the zoo, you're going to want to get something to eat, maybe grab some souvenirs, although you probably want to grab souvenirs as you're leaving the zoo, but hey, that's what an entrance area is for. It's kind of for both, people arriving and departing, for lack of better words. So that's, yeah, I thought about for a little bit here. I toyed with the idea of having a guest, or not a guest gate, a habitat gate for the keepers and stuff in the other habitat going into the other one. And then I realized the game's barrier system doesn't really work like that. You can't really do that. So decided against that, and I think the end result ended up looking good and looking somewhat realistic, but I also felt like, and this might be a bit weird to say, but I felt like the first half of this whole speed build, everything just kind of looked like garbage. Everything just, it wasn't looking good for me. I was starting to see, oh yeah, I wanted to maybe raise the terrain on the inside there, but decided against it. We can save that kind of terraforming work for the next episode, I think, which will be doing the king penguin habitat, I think. But yeah, so where was I going with this? Oh yeah, I feel like when I'm building zoo habitats in this game, they always start off looking terrible, just looking like garbage, and it takes quite a bit of time and quite a bit of effort to actually make it not look like, for lack of better words, hot garbage. I don't know if it's just a quirk of me. I feel like it's kind of a common thing among a lot of Planet Zoo players, but it feels like the first hour and a half or two that I'm building something, I can't see it. It doesn't look the way I want it to. And then in the last, half hour or so, that's when it really starts to look good. When I start putting in rocks and plants, and especially if I start putting in trees and, focusing on sight lines and stuff, it really starts to come together. And I kind of wanted to mention that, I guess, because I want to, give that as some encouragement to other people playing Planet Zoo, or really any other game in this kind of genre of, park building or tycoon type games. You really don't know how things are going to look until you get around to the end. And so, if you're stalling, you're trying to build something and it's just not working out, give it some time, give yourself some space. And it takes time to learn and grow and understand how the game works and stuff. I have probably over 1,000 hours in this game now, but even I struggle sometimes with building habitats, with making things look good. I especially struggle with building buildings, which you'll probably have seen, and is kind of part of the reason why I don't like doing too much of that on camera if I don't have to, because I don't know, I'm still not super confident in my skills to make a good building time lapse. And also, people prefer watching. I feel like people, you play a zoo game partially for the realistic building, yes, but also because of the animals. Because why do people go to zoos? They go to zoos to see animals. And so I feel like people usually they want to focus more on the animals in this game. Now, not everyone, it's different for different people, but I get that feeling myself from a lot of, the things I see on this game's Steam page and online and stuff. Okay, so here I guess I should explain my thought process here. I had gotten this pool in for the penguins. I decided I wanted to put them in because I wanted a sense of scale for how big this should be, and I realized pretty quickly this pool here is huge. This is massive, and the penguins are like dwarfed by it. They look so small in it. In the future, I will probably try and put the animal in the habitat before I start building anything super big like this, because I don't know, they look so small in there, and you can probably see it right now, but they look tiny. It's so hard to get a sense of scale in this game because, you see something like, oh, this is a 4-meter piece. Okay, cool, 4 meters, that's not huge. Until you put the animal in next to it and you're like, oh my gosh, that is a huge building piece. What on earth? And you're sitting there and you're wondering for a while, what am I gonna do to make this work? I've found rocks and foliage. Rocks and foliage are your best friend in a game like this, because, if you just have a wide open, flat, plain, and you put your animal in there, yeah, it's gonna look tiny. You start putting in some interesting looking, natural-ish features, although in this case it's faux rocks, so they're not even natural, but you start putting in features that look like they would fit with the animal you're putting in, all of a sudden the sense of scale seems to balance itself back out, where you start to think, okay, yeah, actually, this doesn't look too bad. And that's part of why I really love these faux rock pieces in this game, because you can recolor them, you can sink them down. It's really easy to make them look good together because, as you can see here, I'm recoloring them all one by one. Big mistake, when you place faux rocks in this game, you should totally just put them in a group from the beginning. That way you can change the color of all of them seamlessly, not a problem. And you don't have to go through and select each of them one by one like I was just doing. Saves you an incredible amount of time. So yeah, don't be like me. Don't do things the hard way. Think smarter, not harder. It's not that difficult, really, once you know what you're doing. Anyway, enough lessons on who not to be, which is me here, I guess. Yeah, so these aquatic faux rocks are, I gotta say, one of the best pieces in this game. And I think, I don't know, I think they are one of, they make the aquatic pack, which is where they come from, I'm pretty sure that's a DLC they came with. They make it worth buying in a way that is just, it's, unless you've played the game and used them yourself, you can't comprehend it, because the base game rocks, yeah, they look good, okay, but they start to get repetitive after a while. And also, in real life in a zoo, you probably wouldn't have that many real rocks because, it's kind of expensive to go to like a quarry somewhere and mine out a bunch of giant boulders of granite and making a huge like zoo habitat with it. It's actually probably less expensive depending on what area, what climate, what region you're in. Obviously, the geology there might be different. But in real life, it's way, way less expensive to just make something cheap out of like epoxy or out of concrete. Well, probably not concrete, but out of epoxy or plastic or something. Make something that looks like a real rock face, and it's, it's way more efficient that way. So, and you see it a lot more often in zoos, real zoos as well. So that's part of why I love these pieces so much. Also, because they're recolorable, you can do basically anything with them. You can make them kind of look like a desert landscape, like what I'm doing here. You can make them look like the kinds of rocks you'd see on the moon if you want. You can completely change the overall vibe of your habitat just by recoloring them. And it's so convenient. It really saves a bunch of time that you would otherwise spend doing rock work that, let's be honest, just doesn't look too good. So anyway, enough of me fangirling over the faux rock pieces. I really hope they make a return in Planet Zoo 2, and I hope if we can get an item scaling feature in that game, that we can scale these rocks, because that would be so helpful. Another thing I really love in this game is these drin grass pieces. Oh my gosh, these are a lifesaver for habitats like this, where you don't want to put in any trees because you don't want anything that would kind of clash with the overall aesthetic of the habitat. You don't know what ground cover to put down. The drin grass makes a whole world of difference. I especially love doing what you can probably see me doing here, where you sink it down between the rocks, between the pebble-shaped rocks. It looks like it, for some reason, it just makes me happy to see it, because, in real life, you see a bunch of pebbles on the ground. You'll see grass growing up through it. And yeah, this is a zoo, so maybe they wouldn't let that happen, but, maybe they would. Maybe they'd just kind of let it grow up through and just let that be. You never know. And it's just a game, so you can also just use your imagination here. But I really love these pieces. One of the best, maybe not the best, but one of the best pieces they've added to the game. Full stop. I added probably over, several hundred of them in here. And what really makes it look good is putting in dry pieces of the grass, because there's both normal and dried out pieces. You sink it down in there, and it looks like, realistic, or at least somewhat realistic grass, where, you wouldn't always have it all looking the same kind of shade of green, because, it's not the same everywhere. And, you might have a little bit too much moisture or too little moisture, make some of it become discolored. Looks pretty good if you do this. And it's just a really quick, easy way to make things look good in this game. I didn't really do much else as far as vegetation in this habitat. And that's kind of on purpose, because I felt like with the kind of concrete industrial aesthetic, wouldn't really look too good to have any trees really just outside of the habitat. Plus, the African penguin, they're a desert African animal, and I felt like a lot of the trees and bushes from that climate and that biome wouldn't really make sense in this kind of climate that this zoo is meant to be in, because this is meant to be somewhere in the Midwest or sort of central US, and you can't really grow. I'm trying to think of what would be trees from that region that are in Planet Zoo, but you can't really grow African trees in this kind of temperate climate. And it's honestly, in the wintertime, it's probably too cold for African penguins at times. But, in the summer, like what this map or what this zoo is supposed to be set in, it's kind of supposed to be summer, maybe late spring, early summer. You're going to be able to have the penguins outside, but year-round, you're not going to be able to grow the same plants that grow in their natural habitat. The only one that really feels like it could, just by looking at it, it feels like it could grow in this kind of region is the drin grass, I feel like. And maybe a couple of the other bushes and stuff, but, I digress. As you can see here, the barrier system is also really odd in this game, because Yeah, even if you have the terrain covered by concrete like I have here, it's really weird about whether it actually lets you place the barrier or not, based on the slope of the terrain. Even though the terrain is completely covered, it doesn't matter. The game doesn't really care about that. It just cares about the underlying terrain. And so this took a lot of finagling to get it looking good. I eventually got it how I wanted it, but it did take quite a bit of time. And this whole pool here, I was working on this so much, trying to get it to the right depth and make sure there's no gaps in the walls. No gaps in the walls, and trying to keep these vents at the bottom because, you know, you want it to look like this pool if you're making an underwater area in this game. Unless it's supposed to be a completely natural pond, you generally speaking want it to look like it could be drained because, you know, the keepers need to be able to get down in there and clean out the pool, and so they need to be able to drain it to do that. They probably don't want to wear scuba gear for that, so, you know, you want to make it look like you could theoretically pull a plug, drain the whole thing, and maybe take the animals out of the habitat for that, maybe. And then a keeper can go down in there, clean up any food scraps, any, you know, other matter that should not be in a pool of water like that. And they can obviously go in and treat the water as well then when it's refilling back up. But you want it to look like that, like it's possible. And so, at least I do. And so I went ahead and put in a bunch of those vents, and I want those to be visible, and I want there to be enough of them to where it looks like they feasibly could drain the water off in a decent amount of time. So yeah, that was a little bit of took a little bit of work to make sure that looks good, but we're quite a ways through the speed build now. I went ahead and put a roof on this little shelter area for the penguins. Did that off screen, and you're gonna see the real-time part. I've actually already recorded it, so this is like the last thing I'm doing for this video. The real-time part, you're going to see that I'm basically going to go through and I'm gonna show you around everything I've built so far in the zoo, and it's gonna be a little bit of a longer real-time part. I can't remember exactly how long I made it, but you're gonna get to see the penguins, and you're gonna get to see their habitat, but also all the area surrounding it and all the work I did, pretty much all off camera. And you're gonna see, you've probably noticed here, made a big staff building that is meant to kind of cater to all the staff needs, because I don't like having to do backstage areas for every single habitat. It might be more realistic that way, but I just don't roll like that because, like I've said before, I don't enjoy building buildings all that much. I more prefer the natural scenery and stuff. And so I made a big staff building for all the staff needs pretty much, and I think it looks pretty good. I tried to keep it kind of practical, but it's a huge building, and it took me probably, I want to say, I can't remember, but it was probably 4 or 5 hours just to build the whole thing, starting from concepts, trying to figure out where I wanted it, trying to figure out how big I wanted it. It ended up taking quite a while, and so you'll get a quick little tour of that, but I do want to take some time then at some point and do some more backstage work in it, make it a bit more detailed, since it's going to be the one big staff area of the whole zoo. I want to try and make it look as good as possible. So anyway, here what you can see is I'm putting down some of these pebble pieces because I felt like concrete was just covering way too much of this habitat, and I wanted something to break things up a little bit. Also to give the penguins a break from constantly walking on pavement. So these gravel pieces are available on the workshop. They're actually technically not available in the base game. They, I guess, are cut content, but using the mod on Nexus Mods called Planet Zoo Plus, you can make them re-enabled so that they are available to you in the game. I have no idea why they were cut content. It doesn't make any sense to me because they feel like they should be an actual in-game prop you can place by default, but you can't. But luckily, the masterful modder and fellow YouTuber Leaf went into the game with Planet Zoo Plus, and I guess must have made a blueprint out of these gravel pieces. I think they're called Zen Pebbles in the files. I don't know for sure, but he went through and he uploaded them as a blueprint to the workshop. And you can download it without having any mods installed at all. And the pieces work fine. You can place them. They have their textures. They all look good. And so I think they're a lifesaver. I think everyone really should download them because it makes it so much easier to make kind of rocky or even gravelly areas. Or even if you want to kind of line your path with some gravel. You can't really do that in the base game. And I really hope that we don't have any like pieces like that in Planet Zoo 2 where you can't place them down in the base game and you have to like enable it with a mod, because that's just kind of annoying, especially because, you know, there's people who play on console and can't really, they don't have access to mods, and that's a real shame because they actually help a lot with making the game better and easier, and also it brings in a lot of new content that I think helps to keep the game interesting. Obviously, you don't need mods, and they're not 100% necessary, but they are really nice, and stuff like this is something they're really nice for. Again, these are a base game piece, but they're not available in the base game for whatever reason. So yeah, I made quite a bit of use of them here because I just feel like they kind of fit the overall vibe, the overall feeling of this area quite well, and I think they look good. So and eventually when this zoo is finished, I do plan on posting it on the Planet Zoo Workshop, and when that happens, you'll be able to download this zoo no problem, because these are technically not a modded piece, so you don't even need any mods installed to make sure the zoo actually runs, which is probably the best part of all. Yeah, I love Planet Zoo mods, but I do wish they were actually officially supported by Frontier, because I mean, there's some weird ones obviously, but they just add so much more to the game. Obviously, I get it, you know, Frontier has their own policies and stuff, but well, what can you do? Maybe some of these features won't be necessary anymore once we get Planet Zoo 2, because yeah, we might have these features in the game by default. Here's hoping. But yeah, as you can see, I'm just trying to get a little bit more detailed rock work to kind of spruce up this area and kind of line the path here. This is going to have a seating area for the guests. It's not set up properly right now because I closed the zoo to kind of manage some lag and stuff, so that, you know, visitors aren't coming in and out, and that just kind of affects your performance in a bad way. But eventually, when there is guests in the zoo, you know, I'd like to be able to have the keepers do their keeper talks, which I think is one of the cooler features in this game. And I want them to be able to do that, and this seating area would be for the guests while that's going on. And I think that would be really cool. So, yeah, that's probably what we're gonna do then, but I wanted to detail out this seating area for the guests and make it look good. So, but yeah, little channel update here. So I'm not sure when the next episode of this zoo build is going to be, but Wolf Quest Anniversary Edition has just recently released their Towerfall expansion DLC, and I wanted to address that I do plan on checking it out and showing it off a little bit on the channel. I don't know when I'll get a video out doing that because, like I've said before, I've got a busy schedule right now, but I want to try and get that out sometime semi-soonish, so be on the lookout for that in the next week or so. And yeah, I really appreciate you guys watching to this point in the video. I know there's a lot of me yapping, a lot of like personal updates and stuff that I feel like is kind of, it gets a bit boring after a while, but hey, look, if you enjoyed this video so far, please make sure to leave a like and leave me a comment down in the comment section below this video, and let me know what how you feel about the build and what do you want me to do next in this zoo. I'm open to suggestions, and really appreciate all the support. Thank you all to everyone who has liked and commented and subscribed. Really does make my day to see all that support and knowing that you guys all care. So thank you very much, and with that, I think this time-lapse speed build section is almost at its end. It's almost done. So pretty soon I will be leaving you with the real-time part, and you'll get to hear me from the past, because I've already recorded it, talk a little bit about stuff, show you around a little bit. And I think I did record that late at night one night, so I might sound a little quiet because I was trying not to wake up my dog. And so anyway, that'll be it for this speed build time-lapse section, and I will see you guys in the real-time part. So thank you very much for watching to this point in the video. Bye guys. Alright, hello everyone. This is our real-time part now. This is actually my third time attempting to record this, so let's hope it goes well. So as you can see, I'm here at the beginning of our zoo again to kind of show some things that have changed. So let's just kind of look around. So it's pretty much the same around the sign and for the most part around the entrance building. I added a little bit more foliage to this side over here. I think it looks pretty nice, and it helps quite a bit. I just added more foliage all around this entire entrance area, and I think it looks a lot better. Helps break up those sight lines and stuff. Still a little bit of work that needs done over here, but I'll get to that. I put in new low stone walls along the edge of the path through here just because I thought it looked kind of weird having the path abruptly end. Yeah, might need to clean that up. A little bit of a cleanup on aisle 6, right? Something like that. Anyway, so here we go. This is the entrance building. Yeah, I put in more stone walls through here just to kind of make everything look a little bit more tied together and cohesive. Put some plants in there too. That kind of helps a bit with that too. Make them feel a little bit more filled in and not empty. Get another big planter here with just some native plants and stuff. Some like natural looking foliage. And nice tree there too as well. This central planter here I think is exactly the same as it was before. Yeah, I think so. Over here I think I might have added a bit more trees, I'm not sure. This little natural pond here, I added this in. I think it looks really nice, and I think as an entrance area this is really nice. I might put down a couple more benches here because I figure, you know, the guests, when you get to a zoo, you probably are a bit tired from the long car ride or the bus ride or whatever. You probably want a place to sit down, especially if you've got food, which, speaking of which, we've got this right here. This building and that building are pretty much the same. I think that one just has a entrance on a different side, maybe, from this one. But this one's just got the two shops for food, and the other one has, I think, a drink. Is this a drink stand? Yeah, it is. Yep. Place where you can get bottled water, I guess. And then we've also got around here, made sure to put another planter through here. I think this looks really nice. Kind of a botanical gardens, maybe not botanical garden, but kind of a, you know, a nice little garden section. Kind of give you some more greenery. Got a nice little, I think this is like a gift shop. Yeah, something like that. And back here there's just like a little slushy stand or something. But yeah, so that's kind of the entrance area, what I've done with it off camera. Got more plants and stuff here. This is a couple of penguin statues I've put here just to kind of, I don't know, fill in that space. And also because this up here is the Penguin Pass, as you can see. Yeah, sorry about all the plants and trees and stuff in the background there. Those will not stay there. They're just there for now until I figure out my foliage palette completely for this zoo. Got a nice little bathroom over there too. Pretty nice, I think. Well, might need a little bit of work, but it gets the job done. This is a staff-only path, I think, for our caretakers, maybe? I can't remember why I put it there. But anyway, got a nice little bit of grass there. And this is going proper into the Penguin Pass. You can see I put a little penguin on the sign. I think that's the, is that the African penguin? Yeah, it is. Okay. And then got a nice little seating area, and that's for people watching the educator give the animal talk. And yeah, here's our penguin habitat. I guess I'll unpause the game so you can get a nice good look at them swimming around in there. Looks pretty nice, I think. And yeah, that back wall there, that's gonna be the wall to our building for our next habitat in here, but it's not in yet, so looks a bit unfinished. Same with this area over here. I need to put down something to fill in this space, some decoration or something. But if we go over here, yeah, this is all unfinished. But I'll take you through the building here where our next habitat's going to be. This is going to be where we put our other penguins, the king penguins. I was thinking about doing the little blue penguin in here as well, but I don't think there's going to be space for it, so we're not going to do that. And yeah, over here I built a big staff building, and there's staff sections on both sides of the path there, and then this is the main path leading to the big staff building. And yeah, and this path will take you right back to the entrance. So it's pretty small right now, but hoping to expand a bit. And yeah, so that is the full tour right now. I guess I'll show you a little bit around the staff building here. It's not entirely done yet, but we got all our phase through the wall there. Got all our essential staff buildings in here, our keeper huts and stuff. It's meant to look practical. It's not supposed to look super nice, but it's meant to just be believable, I guess, pretty much. But yeah, I spent like 4 hours putting that building together. It's probably the biggest building project I've done in this game. That was just for like a staff building. So okay, got a nice little meadow here I also put in, overlooking this kind of loading dock area, and then we're gonna also have a staff parking lot over here. I think that'll be pretty good. I think it'll look good. But yeah, I wanted to have a separate parking lot for the staff so that they're not using up the one for the tourists. And yeah, that's everything so far. Next time we will be building out the interior of this, as well as probably some surrounding areas, I'm guessing. And yeah, that'll be it, I think, for this quick little tour. Just wanted to go over the things that I've done, show you guys around. If you've enjoyed this episode, please make sure to leave a like and subscribe, and stay tuned for the next episode of this zoo. And yeah, that'll be it, I think. Alright, thank you very much, everyone. Goodbye.